1917 chronicles the journey of two infantrymen as they navigate through the countryside to stop an attack that would result in the death of 1,600 men. From the director of Skyfall as part of the marketing, you know you're in for something exciting. Sure, he may have directed Spectre, a full step down from the previous Bond entry, but Sam Mendes is a director with a very respectable career. He's previously worked with Sir Roger Deakins on 3 other films, and his directorial debut brought him all the way to the Academy Awards. Stepping away from 007 gave him time to pursue his next project, which he said was inspired by his grandfather during his time serving in the Great War. On paper, you wouldn't think this is a very interesting movie to watch. 2 soldiers travel the French countryside to deliver orders before it's too late. Sounds fairly cut and dry. A simple get from point A to point B, set along the backdrop of a war movie. But where 1917 excels at is making you feel the emotional weight along every step of the journey. Right away, I want to point out how the movie starts and how it ends. You have Lance Corporals Thomas Blake and William Schofield being woken up by their commanding officer. They walk through the trenches of recovering soldiers, and then they get the orders. In the end, the officer gets the orders, William walks through the trenches of newly wounded soldiers, meets the other Blake brother, and then collapses by a tree. I thought it was neat how you have these 2 scenes that are similar in structure, but completely different in tone. You feel exactly how William feels. Relaxed and uninterested at the start, relieved and coming off an adrenaline rush by the end. As they walk through the trenches, the way they exchange dialogue highlights the differences between the 2. Blake, upbeat and extroverted, is still somewhat innocent to the horrors of war. Schofield, on the other hand, is quiet, stoic, not quite a hardened veteran, but is more experienced of the 2.
My leave got cancelled. They say why? No idea.
It's easier not to go back at all.
10 Bob says we're going up.
I'm not taking that bet.
Why? Because you know I'm right.
No, because you haven't got 10 Bob.
When Blake and Schofield are first given their mission, you immediately see the contrast in attitude. Blake turns from this optimistic and almost naive soldier into a man driven by emotion and panic, desperately wanting to get over the line as soon as he can, even if he goes on ahead alone. Schofield is more logical and calculated. He wants to get there quickly too, but in one piece.
All I'm saying is that we wait. Yes, you would say that, because it's not your brother, is it? Look, the last time I was told the Germans were gone, it didn't end well. You don't know, Blake. You weren't there.
Blake's passion is the drive that helps them push through, with him dragging Schofield out of the bunker despite both being shell-shocked and out of breath. Of course, I have to talk about the cinematography, done by the great Sir Roger Deakins. This marks his 4th collaboration with Sam Mendes, and his 2nd movie of 2019, and this movie earned him his 2nd Oscar after Blade Runner 2049. There's plenty a good reason why. This is one of the best POV movies in a long time. He makes you feel as if you're a 3rd soldier on this mission. When a sniper's taking pot shots, he's shooting at you. When the bunker starts to collapse, you feel the need to get out of there. The camera isn't just a capture of these characters and this story. It becomes an active participant. Walking towards the front line, you feel the grit and grime of the trenches, soldiers lounging about, dirt and mud on their clothes and faces, every other man smoking a cigarette. You almost feel as dirty and exhausted as they are. There's nothing for them to do but sit around and wait. Wait for an order that will likely end in them dying.
For God's sake, careful there. You're stepping on the dead. And that's our sergeant. We better washing him out of this dugout with a bloody hose.
As we get closer and closer to the front, the atmosphere shifts. Gone are the boys holding conversation and moving about. In their stead are battle-hardened soldiers taking care of their dead and wounded. They've been there for so long, they've lost track of time.
Settle a bet. What day is it?
Friday.
Friday? Well, none of us was right. This idiot thought it was Tuesday.
This is Lieutenant Leslie, a tired and bitter man, forgoing any sense of formality in light of watching men under his command get wounded or die.
The new line that shut up. We fought and died over every inch of this fucking place. Now they suddenly give us miles. It's a trap. But tune up, there's a medal in it, for sure. Nothing like a scrap of ribbon to cheer up a widow.
There's a touch of dark humor to this character. He's seen so much blood and bodies that he's using dry wit to get through each day.
I do hate losing these to the hunt, so when they start shooting at you, could you be so kind as to throw it back?
They go over the top, traverse no man's land in what is an effectively tense sequence, and end up in the abandoned German bunker. Now, I'm no historian. I don't claim to be knowledgeable about how warfare in World War I worked, but wouldn't they have noticed that the German bunker was abandoned? If the new German front line was miles away, wouldn't these battalions know about it? Granted, they do fire the flare to let them know it's abandoned, but it's just something that makes my brain itch. Moving along to after the bunker disaster, the two men have a heart-to-heart. Schofield is trying to get Blake to understand the severity of the conflict, believing him to be just another boy wanting to play soldier. Blake retorts that he does understand the job at hand and calls him out on his apathetic attitude.
Why in God's name did you have to choose me? I didn't know what I was picking you for. No, you didn't. You never know. That's your problem. All right, then go back. Nothing's stopping you. You can go all the way bloody home if you want. Don't.
The difference of character goes beyond war experience, but extends to views on decoration and honor.
I didn't lose mine.
What happens to it then?
Why do you care?
Why do you not?
I swapped it with a French captain.
For what?
Bottle of wine.
What did you do that for?
I was thirsty.
That's a waste.
Blake views getting a medal as the greatest achievement that he should proudly display it when going home. Schofield, however, being a survivor of the Somme, just brushes it off as a ribbon with some metal attached. He's seen more than enough men die on his watch. To him, a medal is just worthless. He doesn't want to go home until he knows for sure that he doesn't have to return to the front line.
It doesn't make you special. It doesn't make any difference to anyone.
Yes, it does. And it's not just a bit of tin. It's got a ribbon on it.
I hated going home. I hated it.
This entire conversation is a perfect clash between the battle-experienced soldier and the new recruit. Will has become a shell of himself by the war. Not because he wants to, but because he feels as if that's the only way he'll survive. Blake and Schofield clear out a farm and watch as a German plane crashes nearby. They help him out, and at first it seems that maybe there's hope of a truce between soldiers. Instead, Blake gets stabbed in the gut, prompting Schofield to shoot the German. It's a heartbreaking scene, not only because Schofield loses a friend, but also because what seemed to be a spark of pacifism is quickly snuffed out. You think for a moment that maybe they'll help the German and then they'll go their separate ways. Instead, we get a brutal and sad reminder that this is year 3 of a war that was supposed to be over by Christmas. There's no more room for grace or mercy, only king and country. Now, Schofield is more determined than ever to stop the attack. The rational man from before is replaced by a desperate one, taking on Blake's emotional weight. A subtle foreshadow that I only caught upon another rewatch is that the camera keeps Schofield as the focus point. Whenever the two split off and go on their own, the camera stays with Schofield, almost as if the movie is subconsciously warning us that Blake isn't going to make it all the way to the end. There are a couple moments where the camera follows Blake, but I think that was meant to throw off the more eagle-eyed viewer. Schofield isn't on his own for too long, as a unit comes through, with Captain Smith, played by Mark Strong, offering him a ride. Something cool about this movie is how all the officers and people of high rank are played by big-name actors, and all the characters with the most screen time are played by virtually unknowns. I don't think it was intentional, but I thought it was a clever note on how the higher ranks get all the attention, whereas the ones who actually fight and die are left out of the spotlight. History remembers the generals and the colonels and the decisions they made, for better or worse. But unless you have family that fought in the war, all the names of those soldiers are pretty much forgotten. He gets off as the bridge is down and the convoy can't cross. Which brings me on to the next problem I have with this movie. Schofield gets into a sniper fight, sneaks up behind the assailant, and then he gets knocked out, and we cut to later. I understand we're seeing this through Schofield's point of view, and it adds a bit of tension. When he wakes up, he's lost a significant amount of time to get to the line. But I feel if you're trying to give the impression that it's one singular take, commit to the bit. It doesn't completely ruin the movie for me, but it does make me go, oh, come on. Schofield makes his way through the town, now on fire, and comes across a woman and her baby. As he enjoys a brief rest period, he gets a sense of what life could look like after the war. However, his mission comes first. This moment of peace is immediately contrasted by Schofield strangling a German to death. When his friend comes over and finds out, a chase begins. It makes for an interesting allegory as to how these men became killing machines. They lost a friend, so they kill out of revenge. An eye for an eye, a life for a life. Then, as demonstrated here, the German soldier chasing Schofield will likely kill a Brit out of revenge. And the cycle keeps going. Who's to say that the German pilot didn't lose a friend shortly before crashing into that barn? Schofield then finally makes it to the front line, and we get the most iconic shot of the entire movie. This entire scene is awesome. There's just no other way to put it. Everything from the music, the camera work, the timing of the soldiers charging, the bomb effects. It's an all-around amazing piece of cinema. He makes it to Colonel Mackenzie's bunker and is able to deliver the orders, stopping the attack.
Major,
Yes, sir.
stand them down.
The bunker scene with Colonel Mackenzie is brilliant. Benedict Cumberbatch plays the part of a man wore down by the constant shift in orders, the dragging nature of the war, and how his superiors seem to be flip-flopping between tactics. His words to Schofield hint at how he isn't the first one to deliver an order like this. There'll be a new order telling him to attack at dawn, and how the men are ultimately doomed to die. It's a constant back and forth between attack and halt, with very little progress made. It speaks to the futility of the Great War, how so many men died, often on the whim of a superior, because of constant changing reports. Despite having no more than 3 minutes of screen time, we get a complete picture of Colonel Mackenzie. He's a bitter, despondent man, growing frustrated with the changing attitudes of his superiors and desensitized to the horrors surrounding him. He is aware that this war is a pointless endeavor, and is convinced that the war will only end when both sides run out of able-bodied soldiers to throw at each other.
I hoped today might be a good day. Hope is a dangerous thing. That's it for now, and then next week Command will send a different message. There is only one way this war ends. Last man standing. Have someone see to your wounds. Fuck off, Lance Corporal.
Schofield tracks down Tom's brother Joseph, delivering the news that his brother was with him, but died on the way.
I was sent here with him. Tom's here. Where is he?
In just a matter of seconds, we see the hope turn to dread, then to grief.
It was very quick. I'm sorry.
It's a cruel twist of irony. In trying to get to his brother in time to prevent his death, Tom ended up dying himself.
He was a good man, always telling funny stories. He saved my life. Oh, I'm glad you were with him.
When William finally rests by the tree, we're resting with him. The mission's over, the fight's been stopped, at least for now, but we've now become hardened by the experience. For Lance Corporal William Schofield, it's just another job. 1917 is a brutally honest journey through the war-torn landscape of late 1910s Europe. It has a strong pair of lead actors, a gripping story, tension-inducing action, and is one of the best war movies to come out in recent years. It may be easy to brush this off as just another war movie, but to describe it as such would be a massive disservice. It's a showcase of everything that was going on in the Great War. The new recruits, the hardened soldiers, the dirty and horrible conditions of life in the trenches, the civilians in towns caught in the crossfire, and the growing despondence throughout the conflict. I strongly suggest seeing it multiple times at the theater or on Blu-ray. That is my review of 1917. From here on out, it's only movies from the 2020s.